Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
You're listening to My Neighbour Zuckerberg.
Hello everyone, welcome to another show of My Neighbour Zuckerberg. I'm host number 1, Munaf Kapadia. Me and my mom, we sell samosas for a living.
I'm host number 2, Nabeel Mulchand. Me and my twin brother run a home services company called Fixie. We fix taps for a living.
On My Neighbour Zuckerberg, we try to invite ordinary people. Someone you might have recently crossed while jogging on Carter's Road.
Or someone you recently pooled an Uber ride with. Or it could also be your neighbour.
And you know what makes these people extraordinary? It's their stories. Their stories of courage, of valor. Basically, they're entrepreneurs.
Today, we have one such entrepreneur, Mr. Mulchand Dedhia. He's a co-founder of Meter Down and also the founder of India's largest photographers community called Photo Konnect. Hi Mulchand, it's really a good pleasure to have you out here.
Hey guys, thank you for having me here.
So before we get into asking Mulchand about his business about Meter Down and Photo Konnect, I need to share something very interesting to all listeners. Mulchand has changed 13 schools in the last 16 years. That's just ridiculous at one level and exciting at another.
Yep, that was a great trivia about me. I was surprised as well when I was counting that it was great, 13 schools in 16 years. Because I've studied a lot from PR to postgrad in business management to animation to photography to Photoshop to my first junior KG school to boarding school. So I've traveled and I've seen a lot and experienced a lot. So yeah, 13 schools going strong. And maybe one more in future for my PhD.
That school would be lucky to have you. So Mulchand, we like to start our show with a very simple question. If you had an elevator pitch for Meter Down, what would it be? If you were in an elevator with, let's say, the biggest possible investor out there and you needed investment, what would be those 15 seconds or 20 seconds? What would you say in that?
I think it's pretty simple. We are Meter Down. At Meter Down, we help brands reach out to masses by using the potential of auto rickshaws as a medium for advertising.
Fantastic. And how did this idea hit you? Did you start off by advertising on autos or was it something else initially?
It was actually a great story. At Meter Down, we have 3 co-founders, including me.
Okay.
It's Simi Sailopal and Ishan Mehta and Mulchand Dedhia. This is the story goes back sometime in late 2009. I think somewhere in December. This is at Carter Road in Bandra. There's a coffee shop which still exists called Cafe Coffee Day right at the end. We all 3 met up and we were just discussing about what we want to do with our life because we had just finished our BMM 2-3 years ago. I had finished my postgrad. I was about to finish my postgrad at NMIMS, and Simi had just come back from UK with a degree in journalism, and Ishan at that point in time was working with a corporate. And we were sipping on our coffee, and then we said, I think we together, all 3 of them have a great potential, and I think let's do something on our own. We didn't even know at that point of time there was a word called entrepreneur when we started. So this is like really, really early days of entrepreneurship in our life. We took a week off. Everyone had one small agenda. Take a week off and think of ideas with a small limitation. Limitation number 1 was the idea had to be cheap to execute because we didn't have money. Number 2 was it had to be in media because that is where our base was.
Right.
That is something that what we studied. We worked, so we had a small network. And the third and the most important was something that had never done on the Indian soil, because that's when you will attract a lot of people and you will get the first mover advantage. So there were 3 limitations to 1 week of brainstorming.
Yeah.
And a week later, we exactly met at the same coffee shop in the evening, and combining together, we had close to about 19 different ideas.
19 different
ideas.
Wow.
Low in budget, never executed in the country, and all related to media. And Meter Down magazine was the number one. The idea was, if I'm traveling by a flight to Ahmedabad from Mumbai, it's about 55 minutes.
Correct.
But if I'm traveling from Carter Road to, maybe Lokhandwala,
that's another 55 minutes out
that's
there.
going to be a good 40 minute to 55 minute
Yes.
in auto rickshaw in peak hours. So
Right.
our common thought was, if there's a magazine for air passengers and air travelers, why isn't there a magazine for rickshaw passengers, which is higher in number?
Right.
And that's where we started our brainstorming session. So in the month of February 2010, we did a formal soft launch of Meter Down magazine.
Nice.
It was a 24-page magazine which had articles about music, lifestyle. There was horoscope. There was interviews of celeb, makeovers. So it was a very nice, friendly 24-page magazine, and formally which was launched in March 2010. So that was the idea. It was actually a publication house in terms of Meter Down magazine.
Okay. I really like the name. I really like the name.
How did that happen? How did the name come
Yeah.
Again, as a group, we all three practiced a lot of brainstorming session. There was never a one way or something which was very easy to decide on. We all three came from three different backgrounds, and we had three different ideas. I remember there were at least about 7 or 8 different names that we came up with. And then we called up like 25, 30 of our friends, and we said, we told them these are the names that we are going to tell you, and just tell us what is your feedback about each name. So it was actually 3 of us throwing out the ideas of different name, and then getting feedback from the people and our friends and family. And the number 1 was Meter Down, and number 2 was Kali Pili Times.
Kali Pili Times. Okay.
So we chose Meter Down because it got maximum number of votes.
Nice.
Like really systematic, objective. I'm sure you obviously did all of this, Mulchand, but I'm absolutely certain none of it was as smooth as
what you just narrated right
what
now.
you just narrated.
It was a nice bumpy ride.
Exactly like the ride from Carter Road to Lokhandwala.
Absolutely, yeah. At times it could be a mistake of the rickshaw driver. At times it could be the mistake of the roads. At times it could be a mistake of neither the road nor the rickshaw driver, but somebody who's just banging into you.
There's the environment and karma, right? All right, so you started off as a magazine.
Yeah, as a publication.
Right.
As a publication, but as we all know, somewhere along the line you pivoted into a different concept. So can you tell us about that?
So it's a business idea, right? Your one end of the idea is the novelty of the idea. The second end of the idea is, does that idea really make sense? You could come up with 200 different ideas, but they are difficult to execute, or they're difficult to survive, then they are not great ideas. So what happened is, in the first 2 months, it took a little bit of time to, get up things, to figure out what's going right, what's going wrong, and, see the pattern with the magazine. In the month number 3 and 4, we made decent sales. The idea was to sell the ad space in the magazine for brands.
Right.
In the 5th month, we had a lot of advertisers giving us a feedback. Hey, magazine is a great idea. It's going to be inside a rickshaw. It's going to be inside a shelf, which is right behind the driver's seat, which is in front of the passenger.
Right.
Maybe 100 people are going to drive, or they're going to be a part of the rickshaw journey in one day. And out of those 100 people, maybe 80 people will see the magazine, and probably 70 people will see the ad that they have placed.
Absolutely.
Versus, they said, if it was anything outside the rickshaw, it would be a great opportunity, because every hour there could be 4,000 or 5,000 people watching the rickshaw from outside, from all the sides. So for them, they had a simple agenda of, they want the eyeballs of the communication more. They found it more in terms
Then the
of
engagement
on the rickshaw versus being present inside the rickshaw. And
very interesting. Yeah.
We took that feedback. We took that feedback very seriously, and the idea was, there's an idea of what you want, and there's an idea of what your customer wants. We chose, let's go with what our customer wants from us. So in 6 months of time, we took a pivot. We shut down the publication bit, and we moved into a full-fledged auto rickshaw advertising format.
Wow, that's really, really interesting. So I had a couple of questions out here.
Right.
And so, I mean, the challenge with dealing with the auto rickshaws and the drivers, I mean, how did you manage to bring that community together to the acceptance of the concept of meter down, of putting advertisements on the rickshaw backs?
So I think
Was it a concept which was already drilled into the system, or I believe that there was a lot of drilling that had to be done into the system.
So we've always believed as a team that if you're talking to the other person who's going to be a human, he's always going to have an heart, and if he has an heart, you can always convince him. You might always talk to 1,000 people and be convinced with 1,000 or maybe 200 or 100, but that's what we decided. We spoke to quite a few unions, because the auto rickshaw industry is quite heavily supported with the unions.
Right.
We spoke to quite a few unions. Few of them said yes, few of them said no, few of them were not sure whether they want to be a part of this. And we just wanted a very small sample. We didn't want to take a big chunk and then prove it to the world. The idea was we wanted to validate whether it's going to be right or wrong. So, instead of making 1,000 steps, we just took baby steps with maybe 100. And the idea was testing it on a small market, which means talking to lesser number of people, getting the work done easily, rather than, moving it up in a big force and then not trying to figure out how things are going to be shaping up.
While I hear him say this, I'm just thinking this is so different from the current mindset of the entrepreneurs in today's market. Like, we immediately want to scale up. Everyone's immediately thinking, hey, how do we move from 10 happy customers to 1 million happy customers? How do we make in my case, a food delivery startup, like a platform food delivery startup?
So I think the biggest point here is everyone has the money. At that point of time, we didn't have the money. We were just 25,000 rupees in the bank that what we had pooled. And everything was from our pocket. We didn't have an investor sitting up on our head and putting in money. And I think this is what I see the difference between back then and today. You have a lot of scope for experiment, what's working, what's not working. To a larger extent, that I would also say that people have now become careless because there is enough of money. So
you have more reasons to make mistakes, basically.
Well, fair enough. You could say that. Some people learn from it. Some people don't learn from it. It's always a learning curve for the investor and the entrepreneur.
So, how many rickshaws can meter down actually serve? Like, what's the potential? So, for example, if I'm Reliance Jio. Can I say that maybe on the show? I can, of course. I am Reliance Jio and I want to literally capture the entire auto rickshaw market. So how much
what's the inventory?
Yeah, what's the inventory?
So I always tell this to my brands. If you have the money, we have the rickshaws. There's no number which is impossible. In Bombay, we are more than 25,000 rickshaws strong.
Wow.
At any point of time for any of the brands, we can go up to 25,000 rickshaws. In a time frame, and but the largest that we've worked out is close to about 9,000 rickshaws for a particular brand. This was for Satyame Vijayate, where Amir Khan did a fabulous job. So they wanted to be really very local in different parts, capture all across Mumbai. So that's where we did for one of another startup brand called Rush.com,
right?
Which was
guys.
Yes, we started with them when they were completely with a different name called Get My Pune,
yes,
which was as simple as 100 rickshaws moving on to like 8,000 rickshaws. We've seen them grow from a small to a very nice, fine startup. So, I mean, that's the capacity of people putting in money on auto rickshaws, like on a higher side. So we don't say no to any customers. You want 10 rickshaws, we'll give you 10 rickshaws. You want 10,000 rickshaws, we can give you 10,000 rickshaws. Any money, any business that's incoming is always welcome for us.
Okay. So if I'm a startup listening to this particular episode with Mulchand, and I want to try something out in a suburb, like say for example Bandra or Khar, where I have a certain upmarket neighborhood of people who might consume my
product. And then Nabeel's referring to his own startup because that's exactly the teasing.
So how would you recommend someone would what's the minimum amount of inventory someone should look at, and what is the time duration that you would look like? I mean,
I
how
think
does one manage to calculate impact? How do you help a startup or a company, calculate impact of this particular medium of advertising?
So I think when it comes to planning a campaign with auto rickshaws, there are certain things that is a checklist that I always tell all my friends and brands.
Okay.
First thing is it depends on what is the geography that you want. Now, in this case, let's say we want a geography of Bandra.
Okay.
Your second question is going to be how much auto rickshaws can I advertise in Bandra? It's completely dependent on the brand and the budget.
Okay.
Bandra will have close to a capacity of maybe 6,000-7,000 auto rickshaws. You can start with as low as 100 auto rickshaws, depending whatever you want.
Okay.
Since you have geo-targeting available with meter down, the idea is you can pick rickshaws from Carter Road only, or you can pick rickshaws at Bandra Station, or you can pick rickshaws, which are plying on Linking Road primarily.
Okay.
So you can do that kind of geo-targeting when it comes to meter down and their capacity. When it look at budget, maybe if you're taking in close to about, let's say 100 rickshaw, you're going to be spending close to about 30,000 rupees.
Right. Okay.
That's like working out to about 300 rupees per rickshaw for branding, which is all inclusive, right? Like your printing, mounting, cutting, pasting, whatever charges you want. That's there. They're all inclusive of that. And if you break that down further, you're basically spending about 10 rupees a day, for a month. That's like the most cheapest medium available in this country for advertising. It does not get cheaper than this. And for 10 rupees, you're getting branding for 24 hours. So if a rickshaw is being seen for, by 5,000 people in an hour, you multiply 5,000 into 24, because that's number of hours is what you're going to be spending by just 10 rupees.
Wow, that's some crazy maths out there.
Absolutely.
So from rickshaws, we also understand that you're going to be slowly capturing the Kali Pili, the taxi market, which is South Mumbai, Bandra onwards.
Absolutely. I think it's just a future extension that we've already planned some time ago. Okay. And as a legacy, we never do anything which is always done. So we are doing some, working on some crazy, exciting innovation. There's always been Kali Pili advertising, just something like, different private cab operators would do it on their cabs.
Right.
But the idea is to do one step beyond, and I'm not going to share too much about it because I want you guys to see it in the future, which is going to be a great innovation.
Nice.
Okay.
So
I'm pretty excited already. I'm expecting something hovering over a cab.
Absolutely. I think
we can just put Munaf on top of that.
So I think just to give you a short example, Kali Pili advertising actually goes way, way back than what we can even imagine. I think one of the great campaigns which was done, in Kali Pili was by Aiwa. There was a brand called Aiwa. When, we were in school. The idea was very simple. All the Fiat Padmini taxis were given empty cartons of, Aiwa, which is a technology brand. They had like tape recorders and televisions and stuff. So imagine, a big, maybe 30-inch television set. In olden days, it has like a big box.
Yeah.
The idea is it's an empty box on top of a taxi. And if it's moving, across the city, people would just imagine, oh, that guy just bought an Aiwa. So it was
and this was how long back? This was,
I think, maybe 15 years, I guess. Or somewhere in that range. I remember, I think I was probably in my 7th standard. And it became super viral. I think taxi advertising has been since then. But it's just that there's a lot of potential in the medium, but we want to explore this medium in the most craziest format possible.
Wow, that's fantastic. So at least from this piece of information, we know that Mulchand is a townie because he remembers the Aiwa ad.
Do we see some serious innovation in the future, like maybe driverless auto rickshaws with meter down advertising technology?
No. You cannot have a rickshaw without a rickshaw driver. That's inseparable.
Or do we make the driver dress into some kind of a costume or something of that sort?
We've kind of done that in the past. We've already explored that option.
Okay, nice.
So what's the future for meter down?
So currently we are operating in about 170 cities of the country. The way we see it is India is built of more than 5,000 towns, city, villages, many towns. Our vision is, our growth strategy is, if you can find a bottle of Coke in the village, you can find a rickshaw and we should be there. So 170 cities right now, more 5,000 to go. So we have a huge scope left in the country.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, come to think of it, India's urbanization story, along with villages, that's a huge potential there itself only. So
absolutely,
there's still a lot of work to be done, I think.
Absolutely, the market is super huge. There's a lot of scope for more players. There's a lot of scope of work. There's a lot of scope of engagement. There's a lot of scope of creativity in a new format. It's just waiting to be explored and tapped.
So that was Mulchand's story with Meter Down. He has also something very interesting going on on the weekend. So Mulchand pretty much describes himself as 5 days of his week dedicated to Meter Down, and 2 of his days dedicated to one of India's largest photography community called Photo Konnect. The community started with only 7 people and now has grown to more than 20,000 aspiring photographers, amateur photographers, as well as experts. And he hopes to take this and build a very strong platform, with this strength of numbers on his side. That's really amazing. So, Mulchand, quickly throw some more light on this particular project of yours.
Photo Konnect was a community which was started way long back. It just started with a simple idea of connecting like-minded people. We all have comfortable job. Along with that, we have great photography hobby. And it started with doing something about our hobby over the weekends, because we didn't want to leave a comfortable cushion job which was pay up for our salaries and a lot of bills and a lot of other stuff. But we had a serious passion for photography as an art form, and it's always fun to do it with friends. Anything you do it with friends is always more enjoyable. You get encouragement to do it more further, to pursue it further. And that's what we started up with, but a few of us got back together and said, okay, let's go on a photo walk. Let's see what we can make with some, 1 hour of walking on the street, because let's see how Indian streets are in photographs. And a suggestion came up with, okay, let's make a small community and invite other friends and their friends and their friends and their friends. And at one point of time, we just realized that a photo walk had crossed more than 200 people on a particular morning at 7:30 on Sunday.
200 people
on a photo walk. Absolutely.
For a photo walk on a Sunday morning.
Absolutely. So people came in all the way from Belapur. People came in from Surat, for that matter. I remember.
Wow.
And that's, I think, what a passion is about for photography and for a community where you get to meet so many people. You're partying probably hard on a Saturday night, but you wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to take the train from Vasai to go all the way to Churchgate to meet a bunch of crazy photographers, do a walk, and again go back by train because there's going to be a mega block, so, and do all of that for the love of photography. So it's a great community.
So Mulchand, before we started this interview, I was Googling you.
Okay,
right?
I have some stalkers.
Yeah. I'm definitely one
Especially
of them.
after changing 13 schools, I'm definitely sure you're going to have a lot of stalkers.
Or because he was stalking a lot of people.
Possibly, yeah.
And one very interesting thing that I came across was an article in one of the many articles that are written about you. And the author says this one very interesting thing. She said that I was really looking forward to interviewing Mulchand because I've been stalking him on Facebook for some time. And he has one of the most fascinating timelines out there. And before we came into the studio, you were showing us your mind map and amazing things you do. And Photo Konnect was just one of these things. And I realized that unlike Meter Down, all of your other things, many of these other projects that you've created in this fantastic mind map of yours, which I'm very jealous of, they're all related to photography.
Right.
And if it's fine, I would like to get into the details of that one particular project of yours called Project Bowl.
Absolutely. So Project Bowl is an experiment that I'm trying, which is about teaching photography to deaf and mute students, and that's why I'm learning the Indian Sign Language. It's an experiment.
That's number 8.
Sorry?
That's language number 8.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot more challenging.
So it's a very simple vision that India as a country does not respect its waiters in restaurants or captains in bars. We treat them in not a nicer way. And most of the time, I've always seen that deaf and mute students are either working in a coffee shop or they're working in a cycle repair shop, which is always a thankless job. So the idea was probably to give them a little more, better, high, respectable job, as well as also increase their income. And photography in nature is very individualistic. It does not require, interaction with too many people. If you're on the street busy making pictures, you are a silent observer. Your camera is a silent observer. And that's an experiment where I'm trying to train about few kids in photography. And that's the idea, that they will speak through the images. That's why it's called Project Bowl.
Fantastic. With this, we shall wrap off our session with Mulchand Dedhia, the co-founder of Meter Down and the founder of Photo Konnect. I think both these businesses, one is a community-driven platform, that's Photo Konnect, and a business like Meter Down. I think both of them are so different in nature that only shows how multi-skilled Mulchand Dedhia as an entrepreneur
and
is. Multi-schooled, of course. I mean, you are definitely an inspiration to a lot of people out there.
Absolutely.
And
including the two hosts of the show.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, Photo Konnect does not require any introduction. It's a huge community, so I think every second person might know about it. So you can catch the community on Facebook as well. Thank you so much, Mulchand Dedhia. And this is here we sign off.
I'm Munaf Kapadia.
And I'm Nabeel Merchant.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That was an episode of My Neighbour Zuckerberg, brought to you by Indus Vox Media and media partners Inc. 42.
Our podcasts bring all the boys to the yard, and damn right, they're better than yours. But you don't need to stand outside in the yard. Just follow IVM Podcasts on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We might be on Tinder too. Just go ahead and swipe right.